The phone call came at 2:47 a.m., the kind that shatters carefully constructed empires and forces monsters to remember they're human. "Boss, she's dying." His lieutenant's voice cracked through the line. "She only asked for you." Dominic Vitale hadn't felt fear in 15 years, but hearing her name changed everything. I wasn't supposed to remember him. Dr. Patterson said the therapy was working, that the EMDR sessions and cognitive behavioral techniques were rewiring my brain, helping me process the trauma in healthier ways. The memories would fade into something manageable, she promised. The nightmares would stop waking me up at 3 a.m., drenched in sweat and screaming my brother's name. I'd eventually forget the precise sound Jordan made when the bullet punctured his lung, that wet, gasping noise that still echoed in my skull during quiet moments. I'd forget the man who pulled the trigger wore a silver ring with a scorpion engraved on it. But therapy, I learned, was just expensive lying. Because here I was, 3 years later, standing in the marble-floored lobby of the Renaissance Hotel in downtown Chicago, staring at that same ring. On his finger, catching the light from the crystal chandeliers as he gestured to someone across the room, casual as breathing, like that piece of silver hadn't destroyed my entire world. Dominic Vitale, the city's biggest philanthropist. The man whose face graced the covers of business magazines with headlines like, "From Poverty to Power," "The Vitale Success Story," and "Giving Back," how one man is changing Chicago's South Side. The man everyone loved. The monster I'd been hunting. He stood near the bar, tall and commanding in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than my annual rent. His dark hair was styled perfectly, his posture radiating the kind of confidence that came from never being told no. Everything about him screamed power, from the Patek Philippe watch on his wrist to the way people seemed to orbit around him, drawn by gravity they didn't understand. He didn't recognize me. Why would he? I changed everything. My name, Naomi Clark, now not Naomi Marchetti. My hair, natural curls straightened and dyed honey blonde, though my dark brown skin and high cheekbones remained the same. Every aspect of my entire life had been dismantled and rebuilt with one purpose: getting close to this man. "You're staring." I blinked. He was looking at me now, having crossed the lobby without me noticing. Those dark eyes, almost black, fringed with thick lashes that would have been pretty on anyone else, fixed on my face with an intensity that made my stomach drop. These were the eyes that probably haunted someone else's nightmares too. Cold, calculating, missing something essential that made people human. Up close, he was even more imposing. 6'3", maybe 6'4", broad shoulders, a small scar through his left eyebrow that the magazine photos always photoshopped out. He smelled like expensive cologne and something darker underneath. Gunpowder, maybe, or my imagination. "Your ring," I said, proud that my voice came out steady. "It's unusual." He glanced down at it, and I watched his thumb brush over the scorpion with something almost like affection. "Family heirloom," he said, his voice deep and slightly rough, with the faintest trace of an accent he'd mostly trained away. "You like scorpions?" The image flashed unbidden. Jordan on the ground, blood spreading across his white shirt, reaching for me while that ringed hand lowered the gun. My brother's eyes going glassy, the scorpion glinting red. "I hate them," I said. His lips curved. Not quite a smile, more like an acknowledgement of something he found amusing. "Good instincts," he said. "They're survivors. Dangerous when cornered. Kill without remorse. Sounds like you admire them." "I understand them." He tilted his head slightly, studying me with unnerving focus. "Are you here for the charity gala?" I'd been waiting for this opening. 6 months of research, of learning his patterns, of engineering this exact moment. The Vitale Foundation's annual fundraiser. $2,000 a plate. I'd burned through half my savings on the ticket and the designer dress I wore. A sleek emerald number that complemented my skin tone and suggested I belonged in rooms like this. "I am," I said. "Though I'm starting to think I should have spent the money on something more substantial. Like a car." He actually smiled at that. A real one that transformed his face for half a second before disappearing. "The chicken is always dry, and the speeches are always too long," he agreed. "But it looks good on tax returns." cynical, honest. He extended his hand. Dominic Vitale. I took it, felt the warmth of his palm against mine, the controlled strength in his grip, touched the hand that killed Jordan. I know who you are. Everyone does. And you are Naomi Clark. What brings you to my boring charity event? Naomi Clark? I should have walked away. Should have stuck to the plan. Observe from a distance, gather intel, report back to Agent Morrison and the FBI task force that had been trying to nail Dominic Vitale for the better part of a decade. They'd recruited me 8 months ago, after I'd spent 2 years doing my own digging into Jordan's death and accumulated enough evidence to get their attention. But I'd spent 3 years planning this moment. 3 years of grief metastasizing into rage, of emptiness hardening into purpose. I wasn't going to waste it. Buy me a drink, I said, meeting those dark eyes directly. And I'll tell you why I'm really here. Something flickered across his face. Interest, maybe, or suspicion. With him, it was hard to tell. Dangerous thing to say to a stranger, he said. I don't think you're a stranger, Mr. Vitale. I think everyone in this city knows exactly who you are. The question is whether they're brave enough to admit it. A pause. Long enough that I thought I'd miscalculated. Pushed too hard too fast. Then, the bar, he said, gesturing toward the corner of the lobby. And call me Dominic. Mr. Vitale was my father. We sat in a leather booth tucked away from the pre-gala crowd. He ordered whiskey, Macallan 25, single malt, neat. I asked for wine and immediately regretted it when the sommelier brought out a bottle that probably cost more than my monthly salary and looked at me expectantly. The Bordeaux is fine, Dominic said, saving me. The sommelier nodded and poured. I pretended to sip. I needed to stay sharp. So, Dominic leaned back, one arm draped across the booth's edge, the picture of casual power. Why are you really here, Naomi Clark? I'd rehearsed this, practiced the lie until it felt like truth. I'm writing a book, I said, about redemption, second chances. I met his eyes. Sins that can't be forgiven. Something flickered across his face. Too fast to name, gone before I could analyze it. Heavy topics for a charity gala. I like heavy. Most people prefer easy, safe. He swirled his whiskey, watching the amber liquid catch the light. They want stories about heroes and villains. Clear lines. Simple morality. And you don't think life works that way? I think life is complicated. People are complicated. He took a drink. Your book. What's the angle? Christian redemption? Psychological? Or are you one of those true crime writers looking to exploit tragedy? The word tragedy hit different coming from his mouth. I'm interested in whether someone who's done unforgivable things can ever truly change, I said carefully. Whether redemption is real or just a story we tell ourselves to sleep better. You think people want to change? I think some people are haunted by what they've done. And I think those ghosts either destroy you or transform you. He was quiet for a long moment, studying me with an intensity that made my skin prickle. I'd expected many things from Dominic Vitale: arrogance, charm, the practiced smoothness of a man used to manipulating people. But this raw attention felt different. Uncomfortable. You're not what I expected, he finally said. What did you expect? Another socialite looking for a photo op? Or a journalist fishing for a story? His lips curved slightly. Not a philosopher. Disappointed. Intrigued. My phone buzzed in my clutch. I already knew what it would say. Agent Morrison had eyes on us, probably watching from one of the cameras the FBI had tapped into throughout the hotel. I pulled it out, glanced at the screen. Abort. He's suspicious. Extract now. I silenced it and set my phone face down on the table. Problem? Dominic asked, those dark eyes missing nothing. Just work, I said. My editor. Wondering if I'm making progress. And are you? I looked at him, really looked at him. Tried to see past the expensive suit and the practiced charm to the man underneath. The one who'd built an empire on blood and fear. The one who'd stood by while my brother died. Tell me something true about yourself, I said instead of answering. His eyebrows rose slightly. Why would I do that? Because everyone else is afraid of you. I'm not. The temperature in the booth seemed to drop 10 degrees. His jaw tightened, and for a second, I saw something dangerous flash in his eyes. A reminder that this man hadn't built his empire on charity work and good intentions. You should be, he said quietly, not a threat. A fact. Maybe. I held his gaze, refusing to look away even though every survival instinct screamed at me to run. But I think you're tired of people being afraid. I think you're surrounded by people who say yes and bow their heads, and you're wondering if anyone will ever just see you. The silence stretched between us, taut as a wire. I'd gone too far, shown too much insight too quickly, blown my cover in the first 15 minutes. Then he finished his whiskey in one swallow and set the glass down with a soft clink. I don't sleep well, he said. Why? Ghosts. My heart slammed against my ribs so hard I thought he might hear it. Yours or theirs? He signaled for another drink. When the bartender brought it over, Dominic stared into the amber liquid like it held answers. Both, he finally said. The ghosts of who I was, who I became, and the people I. He paused. The people who aren't here anymore because of choices I made. I thought about Jordan, about the funeral I'd barely remembered, because I'd been sedated through most of it, about our mother who died 6 months later from what the doctors called a heart attack, but what I knew was actually a broken heart, about the hole my brother's death had carved into the world. Do you regret it? I asked. The choices. Every day. He looked up at me. But regret doesn't change anything, doesn't bring anyone back. It's just noise. So what do you do with it? The regret. I build hospitals, fund scholarships, pretend that money can balance the scales. His smile was bitter. It can't. But it's better than doing nothing. This wasn't what I'd expected. The FBI files painted Dominic Vitale as a sociopath. A cold, calculating killer who'd taken over his father's criminal empire and expanded it into something truly terrifying. Money laundering, extortion, contract killings. The Vitale name was whispered in the same breath as the old Italian families, the Russian bratva, the cartels. But the man across from me didn't sound like a monster. He sounded tired, haunted. It had to be an act. Had to be. Your book, he said, changing the subject. When you find the answer about whether redemption is real, let me know. You don't believe in it? I believe some stains don't wash out, no matter how hard you scrub. He stood, buttoning his suit jacket. The gala is starting. Are you coming? I should have said no. Should have walked away, reported back to Morrison, stuck to the plan. Instead, I stood and took his offered arm. Lead the way, I said. And just like that, I stepped deeper into Dominic Vitale's world, my brother's ghost walking beside me every step of the way. The ballroom was designed to impress, and it succeeded. Crystal chandeliers cast prismatic light across tables draped in white silk. A string quartet played something classical and forgettable. Chicago's elite mingled in designer gowns and tailored tuxedos, their laughter carrying the particular pitch of people who'd never worried about money. Dominic's hand rested lightly on the small of my back as he guided me through the crowd. People parted for him instinctively, like schools of fish sensing a shark. Some smiled and nodded. Others looked away quickly, their fear poorly disguised as disinterest. Mr. Vitale, a silver-haired man in his 60s, approached, hand extended. Wonderful event as always. Senator Ashford. Dominic shook his hand, his smile perfectly calibrated, warm enough to seem genuine, cool enough to maintain distance. Thank you for coming. How's the highway bill progressing? Slowly. You know how these things are. Too many hands in the pot. Perhaps fewer hands would help. I'd be happy to discuss it over lunch next week. The senator's smile tightened almost imperceptibly. I'll have my assistant reach out. As he walked away, I leaned closer to Dominic. Was that a bribe or a threat? Neither. Just business. He snagged 2 champagne flutes from a passing waiter, handed me one. In this city, everything is transactional. The senator needs funding for his re-election. I need certain zoning regulations, relaxed. We help each other. And if he doesn't help you, then I help his opponent. Dominic's tone was matter-of-fact, like discussing the weather. Politics isn't complicated. It's just expensive. A woman in a red dress approached, stunning, with the kind of bone structure that graced magazine covers. She kissed Dominic on both cheeks, familiar and possessive. "Dominic, darling, you didn't tell me you were bringing a date." Her eyes raked over me, assessing and dismissing in the same glance. "Vanessa, this is Naomi Clark." Naomi, Vanessa Castellano. Her family runs most of the construction in the city. "Half the construction," Vanessa corrected, her smile sharp. "For now." "And what do you do, Naomi?" "I'm a writer." "How creative." The word dripped with condescension. "Writing about anything interesting? Human nature, violence, whether we're products of our circumstances or our choices." Something flickered in Vanessa's expression. "Heavy topic. Most people prefer lighter fare. Romance. Escapism. Most people are afraid of the truth. Or maybe they're just smarter about what battles to fight." She turned back to Dominic. "We need to talk about the Riverside development. There's been complications." "Tomorrow," Dominic said. "Enjoy the evening, Vanessa." It was a dismissal, polite but final. Vanessa's jaw tightened, but she nodded and walked away, her heels clicking sharply against the marble floor. "Old friend?" I asked. "Old business associate. Her father and mine had arrangements. She seems fond of you." "Vanessa is fond of power. I just happen to have it." He guided me toward our table. "Don't let her get to you. She views every woman as competition." "Should she view me as competition?" He looked at me then, really looked at me, and I felt the weight of his attention like a physical thing. "That depends on what you're competing for." Before I could respond, a commotion erupted near the entrance. Raised voices. A woman's sharp cry. The string quartet faltered and stopped. Dominic's entire demeanor changed instantly. Shoulders squaring, eyes sharpening. One hand instinctively moving toward his hip where I'd bet a concealed weapon rested. The philanthropist disappeared, replaced by something harder, deadlier. "Stay here," he said, already moving. I followed anyway. A young woman, maybe 19, 20, stood in the center of a growing circle of onlookers. Her clothes were wrong for the venue. Torn jeans, a stained hoodie, dirty sneakers. Her dark hair hung in tangles around a face marked with fresh bruises. She was crying, mascara running down her cheeks in black rivers. "I need to see Dominic Vitale," she said, her voice shaking. "Please, I need." Security guards moved toward her, but Dominic raised a hand, stopping them. "I'm Dominic Vitale," he said quietly. "What do you need?" The girl's eyes went wide when she saw him. "Mr. Vitale, my brother, he's..." She stumbled over the words, panic making them incoherent. "They took him. Marco's crew. They said if we don't pay what my father owed, they'll kill him. But my dad's dead, and I don't have the money, and I didn't know where else to go, and everyone says that you help people." The ballroom had gone silent. 200 of Chicago's wealthiest citizens watching this desperate girl beg a man they pretended was legitimate for help with something decidedly illegitimate. Dominic's face was unreadable. "Marco Santini?" "Yes. Please, Mr. Vitale. Tommy's only 16. He didn't do anything. My father's debts aren't his fault." I watched Dominic's jaw work, watched him calculate angles I couldn't see. This was it, the moment the mask could slip. The moment the monster might show itself. "How much?" he asked. 50,000. "But we don't have it. We don't have anything." $50,000. Pocket change to the people in this room. A fortune to a girl in a stained hoodie. "Antonio," Dominic said to one of his men, "take her to the side office. Get her cleaned up. Get details on where they're holding her brother." "Boss. Now." Antonio nodded and gently guided the girl away. The string quartet resumed playing. Conversation started up again, the moment already being filed away as an unfortunate disruption. But Dominic remained still, staring at the spot where the girl had stood. "You're going to help her," I said. Not a question. Her father gambled with the wrong people, got himself killed. Now they're collecting from his children. His voice was flat. "That's not business. That's cruelty. So you're what? The city's vigilante? Robin Hood in Armani." He turned to me, and the look in his eyes made my breath catch. "I'm not a hero, Naomi. Don't mistake this for nobility. Marco Santini operates in my city without permission. He takes what's mine, territory, revenue, and thinks he can hide behind the Russians. Helping that girl helps me. By doing what exactly? By reminding everyone who really runs Chicago." He straightened his cuffs, the gentleman returning. "Excuse me. I need to make some calls. Enjoy dinner." He walked away, leaving me standing alone in a ballroom full of strangers, wondering what I just witnessed. An act of mercy or a power play? Justice or territoriality? With Dominic Vitale, maybe it was all of the above. I returned to our table as dinner was served. Predictably dry chicken, overcooked vegetables, a dessert too pretty to taste good. I pushed food around my plate and watched Dominic work the room, shaking hands and making small talk, while simultaneously orchestrating something dangerous via discreet phone calls and whispered conversations with his men. By the time the speeches started, long-winded testimonials about the Vitale Foundation's charitable work, I'd counted 4 separate groups of people leaving at Dominic's subtle signals. Whatever he was planning, it was happening now. Tonight, the girl's brother would be home before dawn. I'd bet on it. And someone else would be very, very sorry they'd crossed Dominic Vitale. When the gala finally ended, Dominic found me near the coat check. "Can I give you a ride home?" he asked. Every alarm bell in my head screamed no. Agent Morrison would lose his mind. I was supposed to make contact, nothing more. Gather intel from a distance. "Yes," I said. His car was a black Aston Martin, understated by billionaire standards but still worth more than most houses. He opened the passenger door himself, waited until I was settled before closing it and walking around to the driver's side. The interior smelled like leather and that cologne he wore. The city lights blurred past as he drove, taking turns without asking my address. "You know where I live?" I asked. "I know where everyone lives." It should have been threatening. It was threatening, but his tone was almost apologetic. "That girl," I said. "Her brother. Will he be okay?" "Yes." "And Marco Santini? Will learn to respect boundaries." "Meaning?" He glanced at me. "Meaning ask questions you actually want answers to, Naomi." We drove in silence for several minutes before he pulled over in front of my apartment building, a converted brownstone in Lincoln Park, chosen specifically because it was nice enough to fit my cover story, but not so nice it raised questions about a struggling writer's finances. "Thank you for the drink," I said. "And the entertainment. Is that what tonight was? Entertainment, wasn't it?" He shifted in his seat, turning to face me fully. In the darkness of the car, his features were all shadows and angles, dangerous and beautiful in equal measure. "I don't know what you're looking for," he said quietly. "Why you really approached me tonight. But whatever it is, whatever you think I am, you should be careful. This world isn't forgiving. Maybe I'm not looking for forgiveness. Then what are you looking for? The truth about my brother. Justice. Revenge. A story worth telling," I said instead. He smiled, sad and knowing. "Then you've come to the right place. My life is nothing but stories." He paused. "Most of them have unhappy endings. Good thing I'm still writing mine." I got out of the car before I could do something stupid, like tell him everything, or worse, kiss him. Because somewhere between the hotel bar and this moment, the monster I'd come to destroy had started to look human. And that was the most dangerous thing of all. Agent Morrison looked like he wanted to strangle me. "You got in his car." He paced the small surveillance apartment 3 blocks from my building, his reflection multiplying in the bank of monitors showing various feeds of Dominic's known properties. "After I explicitly told you to abort, you got in his personal vehicle and let him drive you home." "He would have been suspicious if I refused," I said, perched on the edge of a desk. "Besides, nothing happened. He dropped me off. That's it. That's it. Morrison stopped pacing, turned to face me. He was late 40s, graying at the temples, with the permanently exhausted look of someone who'd spent too long chasing ghosts. Naomi, this isn't a game. Dominic Vitale has killed people for less than what you're doing. I'm doing exactly what you recruited me to do. Getting close. Building trust. There's a difference between building trust and becoming reckless. He pulled out his phone, swiped through photos. This is Marco Santini, or what's left of him. I looked at the screen and immediately wished I hadn't. The body was barely recognizable. Beaten, burned, dumped in an alley like garbage. Crime scene photos, time-stamped 3 hours ago. Vitale did this? I asked, my stomach churning. His men. Same thing. Morrison pocketed his phone. That girl who showed up at the gala? Her brother was returned home safely, like you predicted. And Marco Santini was found dead 2 hours later. That's who you're getting cozy with. A man who solves problems with torture and murder. I thought about Dominic in the car, the sadness in his voice when he said most of his stories had unhappy endings. The way he'd looked at the desperate girl with something that resembled actual compassion. He's more complicated than the file suggests, I said. They always are. That's how they get away with it. Morrison sat down heavily in a desk chair. Look, I know why you're doing this. Jordan was your brother. You want justice, but you're starting to lose perspective. I have perfect perspective. Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, you're starting to see Vitale as human instead of what he is, a murderer. A crime boss. The man who killed your brother. His father killed Jordan, I said, the words tasting strange. That's what the evidence says. Dominic was there. He was part of it. The Vitale organization killed Jordan over a gambling debt that wasn't even his. Your brother was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and they executed him like a dog. Morrison leaned forward. Don't let a nice suit and some charity work make you forget that. He was right. I knew he was right. So why did I feel defensive? What do you want me to do? I asked. Keep the wire on during every interaction. We need him on tape discussing the organization. Specific crimes we can prosecute. His father's dead, we can't touch him. But Dominic's running the whole operation now. One solid confession, and we can bring down the entire empire. He's not stupid. He won't just confess. Then make him trust you enough that he gets careless. Morrison stood. But Naomi? Remember who he is. Remember what he took from you. Don't let yourself forget that this man is the enemy. I left the surveillance apartment as dawn broke over Chicago, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. My phone buzzed as I walked. Unknown number. Did you sleep? The text read. I stared at it. Deleted it. It buzzed again. That's answer enough. Coffee? I know a place. How did you get this number? I told you. I know everything. You should have terrified me. Instead, I found myself typing. Where? The coffee shop was in Pilsen, far from the tourist areas and upscale neighborhoods where men like Dominic typically operated. It was small, family-owned, with mismatched chairs and local art on the walls. Dominic sat in the back corner, looking surreal in his expensive casual wear. Designer jeans, a black Henley that showed off his build, a leather jacket that probably cost thousands. He'd already ordered for me, café con leche and some kind of pastry. You're assuming a lot about my coffee preferences, I said, sitting down. You seem like someone who likes things sweet with an edge of bitter. He smiled slightly. Was I wrong? I took a sip. It was perfect. The girl from last night, I said. Her brother. Home safe. A little traumatized. But he'll survive. And Marco Santini? Won't be bothering anyone anymore. No emotion. Just fact. You had him killed. I had a problem solved. There's a difference. Is there? Dominic broke off a piece of his own pastry, studying it like it held answers. You asked me last night if I regret the choices I've made. The truth is more complicated than yes or no. Try me. I regret what I've become. I don't regret surviving. He looked up at me. My father was a monster. Beat my mother until she couldn't walk straight. Beat me when he got bored with her. I was 8 the first time I watched him kill someone. 12, when he made me help bury the body. I hadn't expected honesty. Not this raw, this real. He said it would make me strong. Teach me how the world really works. Dominic's jaw tightened. And he was right. I learned that mercy is weakness. That people respect fear more than love. That the only way to stop being a victim is to become something worse than your victimizer. You could have chosen differently. Could have walked away. To what? I had no education. No skills besides violence. No one who gave a damn if I lived or died. He met my eyes. I'm not asking for sympathy. Just understanding. We all make choices based on the options we're given. Mine were just worse than most. I thought about Jordan. About the choice someone made to end his life. About the ripple effects of violence, how it spread like disease, infecting everything it touched. What about now? I asked. You have money, power, education. You could walk away. Could I? You think the families would just let me retire? That the Russians would say no hard feelings? That the FBI would stop investigating? He laughed, bitter. There's no walking away from this life, Naomi. You're in until you're dead or in prison. Those are the only exits. That's bleak. That's reality. We sat in silence, drinking coffee, while early morning Pilsen woke up around us. An older woman swept the sidewalk outside. A group of construction workers grabbed breakfast to go. Normal people living normal lives, completely unaware that a killer sat among them. Why bring me here? I asked finally. Why tell me any of this? Dominic was quiet for a long moment. Because you asked real questions. Because you looked at me like I was human instead of either a god or a demon. Because... He trailed off, shaking his head. I don't know. Maybe I'm tired of pretending. Pretending what? That I don't hate what I am. The wire hidden in my necklace was recording every word. Evidence. Confession. Exactly what Morrison wanted. So why did it feel like betrayal? I should go, I said, standing abruptly. I have work. The book. Yeah, the book. He stood too, pulled out his wallet. I noticed the way the woman behind the counter looked away quickly. The way the other patrons suddenly became very interested in their phones. Everyone knew who he was. Everyone was afraid. Except me. Or at least I was afraid of the wrong things. Naomi, he said as I turned to leave. That thing you're looking for in your research. About whether people can really change. What about it? I hope you find the answer. He smiled sadly. And I hope it's yes. For both our sakes. I walked out into the morning sunshine, Morrison's warning echoing in my head. Remember who he is. Remember what he took from you. But all I could think about was an 8-year-old boy watching his father become a monster and learning that the only way to survive monsters was to become one yourself. And I wondered, if Jordan and I had grown up in Dominic's world, with his choices, would we have chosen any differently? I didn't want to know the answer to that question, but I was starting to suspect I already did. I spent the next week trying to maintain distance, ignored Dominic's texts, focused on transcribing the recordings for Morrison, who seemed pleased with the progress, even as I felt increasingly sick listening to my own voice lie. But distance from Dominic Vitale, I learned, was theoretical at best. He sent flowers to my apartment, white roses with a card that read, "For someone who hates scorpions but isn't afraid of them." He had a first edition of Toni Morrison's Beloved delivered to my door, somehow knowing it was my favorite book, though I'd never mentioned it. Furthermore, he donated $100,000 to the community center in Jordan's name, the one my brother used to volunteer at before he died. That one broke something in me, because how did he even know about Jordan? About the center? Unless he'd been researching me as thoroughly as I'd been researching him. On day 8, he showed up at the library where I actually did go to write sometimes to maintain the cover story. He slid into the chair across from me, casual as anything, like stalking wasn't a crime. "You're avoiding me," he said. "I'm busy. You're scared." I looked up from my laptop. "Of you. Of what you felt. At the coffee shop. When you started seeing me as human. He leaned back, utterly relaxed despite the librarian's disapproving stare. It's easier to hate monsters than people. Maybe you're both. Definitely both. He smiled without humor. But which one matters more to you? I saved my document, actual writing surprisingly, because pretending to work on a book about redemption while hunting my brother's killer had given me plenty of material. Why are you here, Dominic? I want to show you something. What? Trust me. That's a tall order. I know. He stood, offered his hand. 2 hours. If you hate it, I'll leave you alone. You'll never hear from me again. I should have said no. Should have called Morrison, let the FBI tail us, stayed professional. I took his hand. He drove us to the south side, to neighborhoods where the buildings wore their age in cracked facades and boarded windows. This was the Chicago tourists didn't see, the one still bleeding from decades of disinvestment and systemic neglect. We stopped at a warehouse that had been converted into something else. A sign out front read, Vitale Youth Center free programs for at-risk youth. This is what you wanted to show me? I asked. Another tax write-off? Come inside. The interior was nothing like I expected. Basketball courts, computer labs, art studios, a recording studio where teenagers worked on music, tutoring areas where kids hunched over homework with patient mentors, a commercial kitchen teaching culinary skills. It was real, functional, actually helping people. A young man, maybe 22, 23, approached Dominic with easy familiarity. Mr. V, didn't know you were coming by today. Surprise inspection, Marcus. Dominic smiled, and it was genuine. Warm. How's enrollment? Up 20% from last quarter. The coding program is killing it. We've got 3 kids who just got internships at tech companies downtown. Pride radiated from him. And Jasmine got that scholarship. Full ride to Northwestern. That's excellent. Make sure her family has everything they need for the transition. Housing deposit, books, whatever. Already on it. Marcus noticed me. Who's your friend? Naomi Clark. She's a writer. Naomi, this is Marcus Webb. He runs this place. Marcus extended his hand. His grip was firm, confident. Welcome. You writing about the center? Maybe, I said, because I didn't know what else to say. Let me show you around. For the next hour, Marcus walked us through the programs. Showed me statistics about reduced recidivism, increased graduation rates, kids who'd been headed for gangs or prison now headed for college or trade schools. Every staff member we met clearly respected him. Every kid who said hello to Dominic did so without fear, with gratitude even. This was your father's warehouse, I said quietly as we watched a group of kids in an art class, where he ran his operations. Yes. Dominic's voice was flat. After he died, I had a choice. Sell it. Keep using it the same way. Or burn it down and build something different. So you built this. I tried to build the thing I needed when I was their age. He nodded toward a kid who couldn't have been more than 13, working intently on a painting. Someone who gave a damn. A place that was safe. Options besides violence. Does it work? Does it make up for the other things you do? He turned to look at me. No, nothing makes up for it. But it's something. And something is better than nothing. We left the center as afternoon shifted toward evening. Instead of driving me home, Dominic headed toward the lake, parked at an overlook where we could see the skyline reflecting off the water, gilded by the setting sun. My father brought me here once, he said, staring out at the city. I was 9. He'd just closed a deal. Something big that I didn't understand. He pointed at the skyline and said, all of this is built on blood, Dominic. Every building, every fortune. The only difference between legitimate and illegitimate is how long ago the blood was spilled. Cynical philosophy for a 9-year-old. He wasn't wrong, though. This country was built on genocide and slavery. This city was built on corruption and vice. The families who run it now, the respectable ones, their grandfathers were bootleggers and mobsters. They just got legitimate before the cameras started watching. He finally looked at me. I'm not defending what I do. I'm just saying the world is more complicated than good guys and bad guys. Everything is complicated with you, I said. Is that a problem? It would be easier if you were just evil. If you didn't build youth centers or feel guilty or have reasons for the terrible things you do. Easier for whom? For me. For my revenge. That was the simple story I'd been telling myself for 3 years, where Dominic Vitale was the villain, and I was the hero, and Jordan's death meant something clear and actionable. I should go home, I said. Why do you do that? Pull away every time we get close to something real. Because this isn't real. You and me. This whole thing. You're a crime boss. I trailed off, nearly saying undercover before catching myself. I'm nobody. We exist in different worlds. So exist in mine for a while. Your world kills people, Dominic. So does everyone's. We're just more honest about it. He shifted in his seat, facing me fully. Those politicians at the gala? They pass laws that destroy communities. Those corporate sponsors? They poison water supplies and call it business. That senator I talked to? He voted to cut food assistance that would have fed 10,000 children. But he does it with paperwork, so it's respectable. That doesn't make what you do okay. No, it doesn't. He reached out, tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. The gesture was so gentle it made my chest ache. But at least I know I'm damned. They get to pretend they're righteous. His hand lingered near my face. I should have pulled away. Should have maintained professional distance. I leaned into his touch instead. Naomi, he said softly, what are you really afraid of? That I'm starting to care about you. That Morrison is right and I'm losing perspective. Because when this is over, and you know what I've done, the betrayal will destroy whatever this is becoming. That you're not who I need you to be, I said. And who do you need me to be? Simple, evil, easy to hate. I don't know anymore. He leaned closer, and I knew he was going to kiss me. Knew I should stop it. Knew the wire was recording everything, and Morrison would hear this and know I'd crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. I kissed him first. It was gentle at first, tentative, like we were both afraid of what it meant. Then his hand slid into my hair and mine gripped his jacket, and gentle became urgent, became desperate. Like we were both drowning and each other was air. When we finally broke apart, breathless, his forehead rested against mine. This is a mistake, I whispered. Probably. You're dangerous. Definitely. I should run. You won't though. He was right. God help me, he was right. Because somewhere between the hotel bar and this moment, between the monster I'd hunted and the man who built youth centers from his father's blood money, I'd stopped wanting simple revenge. And I had no idea what I wanted instead. Morrison's reaction to the recording was worse than I'd anticipated. You kissed him. He didn't yell. That would have been easier. Instead, his voice was quiet, controlled, and utterly disappointed. You're wearing a wire funded by the FBI, gathering evidence for a federal investigation, and you kissed the suspect. It wasn't planned. I don't care if it was planned. I care that it happened. He ejected the recording device, held it up. Do you understand what this means? Any defense attorney worth their retainer will argue entrapment, seduction, that you manipulated him, and nothing he says can be trusted. I didn't manipulate him. Then what do you call it, Naomi? Because from where I'm sitting, you're compromised. Emotionally involved with a man who kills people for a living. I wanted to argue. Wanted to say it was all part of the cover, that I was in control. But the truth stuck in my throat like broken glass. Pull me out then, I said. What? If I'm compromised, pull me out. Get someone else. Morrison was quiet for a long moment, studying me with those tired, knowing eyes. We don't have someone else. It took 3 years to get this close to Vitale. 3 years of building your identity, your cover story, positioning you in the right places. He sighed heavily. And despite your feelings, you're getting results. He's talking to you, trusting you. We just need one clear confession about his current operations. One admission we can use. And then what? You arrest him and I disappear? Witness protection. Something like that. I thought about Dominic's hands in my hair. His voice saying you won't run. The way he looked at the kids in the youth center like maybe redemption wasn't entirely theoretical. What if there's another way? I asked. There isn't. What if he cooperates? Turns state's evidence like you wanted his father to do? He knows everything, the families, the operations, the corrupt officials. He could. He's a murderer, Naomi. We don't make deals with people like him. You make deals with people exactly like him all the time. Informants. Witnesses. The whole system runs on people trading information for leniency. Morrison leaned forward. Why are you protecting him? I'm not. I'm trying to find a solution that doesn't end with. I trailed off, unsure how to finish that sentence. With me betraying him? With him in prison? Was this thing between us destroyed? Doesn't end with what? Him facing consequences for his actions. Morrison's voice hardened. Your brother is dead because of the Vitale organization. Jordan was 23 years old, working 2 jobs to put himself through nursing school, and they executed him over someone else's gambling debt. Does that man deserve your protection? The name hit me like a punch. Jordan, my baby brother who used to make me birthday cards because he couldn't afford real presents, who called me every Sunday without fail, who died reaching for me, my name the last word he spoke. No, I whispered. He doesn't. Then do your job. Get me what I need to put him away. Morrison stood. And Naomi? No more kissing the suspect. That's not a suggestion. I avoided Dominic for 3 days. Didn't answer texts. Claimed I was sick when he called. Needed time to remember why I was doing this, who I was doing it for. On day 4, he showed up at my apartment at midnight. I opened the door to find him leaning against the frame, still in a suit but disheveled. Tie loose, top buttons undone, hair messed like he'd been running his hands through it. He looked exhausted. You're avoiding me again, he said. It's midnight, Dominic. I know. Can I come in? Every instinct screamed no. Instead, I stepped aside. He walked into my small apartment, and I was suddenly aware of how different our worlds were. His penthouse probably had more square footage than my entire building. But he didn't look around with judgment. Just moved to the window, stared out at the street below. Something happened tonight, he said quietly. One of my warehouses. Someone hid it. Took $3 million in product. I'm sorry. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. Are you? Sorry that someone stole from a criminal? I'm sorry that you look like you haven't slept in days. He turned to face me. The men who hit the warehouse killed 2 of my people. Security guards. Both had families. One had a daughter graduating from high school next month. Dominic, I know what I have to do. What's expected. I find who did this and I make an example. Kill them. Kill their associates. Burn their operations to the ground. So everyone remembers that you don't touch what's mine. His voice was hollow. That's the job. That's the life. So do it. I don't want to. He said it so quietly I almost missed it. I'm so tired of killing, Naomi. So tired of violence and revenge and this endless cycle of blood. But if I don't respond, I look weak. And weakness in this world gets you killed. I should have stayed distant. Should have recorded this, gathered evidence, remembered my mission. Instead, I crossed the room and took his hand. When does it end? He asked, staring at our joined hands. The violence, the debts. When do we get to just stop? I don't know. You're writing a book about redemption, about second chances. He looked up at me. Do you believe in them? Really? Here it was, the question that mattered, the one I'd been avoiding since the night we met. I want to, I said honestly, but I don't know if wanting something makes it real. My mother used to say that people are like houses. Even if the foundation is rotten, you can rebuild. Make something new on top of the old damage. He smiled sadly. Then she left, and I realized she was lying. Some foundations are too broken. You can't build anything lasting on ruins. Maybe you're not supposed to build on the old foundation. Maybe you're supposed to tear it down completely. Start over. And if I don't know how to be anything else? If violence is the only language I speak, Then you learn a new language. He pulled me closer and I should have resisted, but I didn't. His arms wrapped around me, and I felt him exhale like he'd been holding his breath for years. I don't deserve this, he murmured into my hair. Don't deserve you. You killed my brother, I should have said. You destroyed my family. I'm here to destroy you. What if we both deserve a chance? I said instead. We stood like that, holding each other in my tiny apartment while the city hummed outside. Two people built from damage, pretending for a moment that broken things could fit together and make something whole. My phone buzzed on the counter. Morrison, probably, demanding updates, reminding me who the enemy was. I ignored it. Stay, I said. Not for the mission. Not for evidence. Just because I didn't want to be alone, and I didn't think he did either. Okay. We moved to the couch. He pulled me against his chest, and I listened to his heartbeat. Steady, human, alive. His fingers traced absent patterns on my shoulder. Neither of us spoke. Words felt too complicated, too full of landmines. Somewhere around 2 a.m., I felt his breathing even out into sleep. I should have moved, should have stayed alert. Instead, I let myself drift off too, wrapped in the arms of the man I was supposed to destroy. And for just a few hours, I let myself forget about revenge and justice and federal investigations. For just a few hours, I let myself feel something other than grief. What would you do if you fell for the person you swore to destroy? Could you choose love over justice? Or would the past always win? Drop your thoughts below. I want to know where you stand. When I woke, dawn was breaking and Dominic was watching me with an expression I couldn't name. What? I asked, voice rough with sleep. I was just thinking, he said, that this is the most peaceful I've felt in 15 years. We're just sleeping on a couch. I know. He brushed his thumb across my cheek. That's what makes it perfect. My heart cracked open a little more, and I knew with absolute certainty, that when this ended it was going to destroy us both. But I still wasn't ready to let go. Not yet. The next 2 weeks blurred together in a way that felt both dangerous and inevitable. Dominic didn't just text anymore, he showed up. At the library, at the small cafe where I got breakfast, outside my apartment with takeout from restaurants I'd mentioned loving in passing. He was attentive in a way that would have been alarming if it wasn't also exactly what I'd been craving without knowing it. We fell into a pattern. Late-night conversations that stretched until dawn. Drives through the city where he showed me Chicago through his eyes, not the tourist version but the real one. The corners where he'd hidden from his father. The bridge where he'd nearly jumped at 16. The diner where an old woman had fed him for free when he was homeless at 17. You were homeless? I asked, sitting across from him in that same diner at 3 a.m., eating pie that tasted like nostalgia. For 8 months, after I ran from my father the first time. He poked at his own slice without eating. Thought I could escape. Be normal. Get a regular job, maybe finish school. What happened? He found me. Broke 3 of my ribs and my jaw. Said I could leave again, but he'd kill anyone who helped me. Anyone who showed me kindness. Dominic's voice was matter-of-fact, like he was reciting a grocery list. So I stopped running. Figured if I was going to be trapped in hell anyway, might as well learn to rule it. That's when you took over? Eventually. Spent years proving I was more ruthless than him. More strategic. Better at violence. He finally looked at me. I became everything he wanted and everything I hated. And by the time I realized what I'd done, there was no going back. I reached across the table, laced my fingers through his. The wire in my necklace caught every word. Evidence. Confession. Everything Morrison needed. Everything that was tearing me apart. Naomi, Dominic said quietly, I need to tell you something. My heart stopped. Okay. I looked into you. Your background. Your history. He watched my face carefully. I know about your brother. The diner suddenly felt too small, too hot. What about him? Jordan Marchetti. Killed 3 years ago outside a restaurant in Little Italy. Gunshot wound to the chest. Unsolved murder. His thumb traced circles on my palm. I know you changed your name. I know you've been in therapy. I know you came to Chicago 6 months ago from Atlanta. He knew. Not everything, but enough to be dangerous. Why are you telling me this? I asked, keeping my voice steady through sheer will. Because I want you to know that I see you. The real you, not just the version you show the world. He squeezed my hand. And I'm sorry. For your loss. For whatever brought you to a place where you felt like you needed to hide who you were. Guilt crashed over me like a wave. He thought I'd changed my name to escape grief, to start over. Had no idea I'd done it to get close to him. To destroy him. Dominic. You don't have to talk about it. I just wanted you to know that I understand what it's like to lose someone. To have violence reshape your entire world. His eyes were soft, vulnerable in a way I'd never seen. And I want you to know that you're safe with me. Whatever you're running from, whoever you're hiding from, I'll protect you. I was going to hell. Straight to hell, no stops. Thank you, I whispered. Because what else could I say? Morrison called an emergency meeting the next day. He knows about Jordan, I said, pacing the surveillance apartment. Not the connection to his organization, but he knows my brother died. Knows I changed my name. How much does he know? Enough to get suspicious if I'm not careful. Morrison swore creatively. This is falling apart. We need to accelerate the timeline. Get what we need and extract you before this blows up. I'm close. He's trusting me. Telling me things. Things we can't use because you're sleeping with him. Morrison slammed his hand on the desk. Yes, Naomi, I know. You think I can't hear it in the recordings? The way you talk to each other? This stopped being an investigation and became a relationship. That's not. Don't lie to me. And more importantly, don't lie to yourself. He pulled up a file on his computer, turned the screen toward me. This is Dominic Vitale's real record. Not the sanitized version. The actual body count. I looked at the list. 37 confirmed kills. Another 60 suspected. Names, dates, methods. Each one a life ended, a family destroyed. Jordan's name was there. 15 entries down. His father pulled the trigger, Morrison said. But Dominic was there. He helped plan it. Your brother owed money to a bookie connected to the Vitale organization. When Jordan couldn't pay, they made an example. Dominic was 22. Already his father's right hand. Already a killer. I stared at my brother's name on the screen, and something inside me hardened. You're sure? I'm sure. We have witness statements. Financial records. Dominic Vitale is directly responsible for Jordan's death. Morrison's voice softened slightly. I know you've developed feelings. I know he's shown you a different side of himself. But that doesn't change what he did. It doesn't bring Jordan back. No, I said quietly. It doesn't. So what do you want to do? Walk away? Or finish this? I thought about Jordan teaching me to ride a bike. Jordan calling me every Sunday. Jordan bleeding out in my arms while I screamed for help that came too late. Then I thought about Dominic sleeping peacefully on my couch. Dominic building youth centers from his father's warehouses. Dominic saying he was tired of killing. Both things were true. Both versions existed. And I had to choose which one mattered more. I'll finish it, I said. But I need time. If I push too hard, he'll know something's wrong. You have 1 week. Then we're moving in whether we have the confession or not. 1 week. 7 days to betray the man I was falling in love with, or abandon justice for my brother. There was no good choice. There was just choosing which piece of myself to destroy. That night, Dominic took me to his penthouse for the first time. It was exactly what I'd expected. All glass and steel and minimalist luxury. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, making it feel like we were suspended in the sky. But there were unexpected touches too. Books everywhere. Real art, not the kind bought for investment. A record player with actual vinyl. This is beautiful, I said, moving to the windows. It's empty. He came up behind me, wrapped his arms around my waist. Beautiful and empty. Like a museum. You could make it a home. I don't know how. He rested his chin on my shoulder. Every place I've ever lived has been temporary. Safe houses, hotels, buildings I own but don't belong in. I don't think I've ever had a home. I turned in his arms, looked up at him. What does home feel like to you? He was quiet for a long moment, studying my face like he was memorizing it. Like this, he finally said. Like you. Then he kissed me, and it wasn't gentle like before. It was desperate, urgent, like he was trying to prove something or maybe ask a question he didn't have words for. I kissed him back just as desperately because I knew with absolute certainty, that this was temporary. That in a week everything would fall apart. So I let myself have this moment, this night, this feeling of being wanted and safe and maybe even loved, even though it was built on lies. We moved to his bedroom, and I tried not to think about the wire I'd left behind in my apartment, the mission I was betraying, the brother whose death demanded justice. For one night, I let myself just be Naomi, not an agent, neither a grieving sister nor someone with an agenda. Just a woman falling in love with a man who was both monster and human, damned and desperate for redemption. And when he held me afterward, his heartbeat steady against my cheek, he whispered, "I love you." I should have said nothing, should have kept that distance. "I love you too," I whispered back, and meant it. God help me, I meant it. The next morning, I woke to sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows and the smell of coffee. Dominic stood in the kitchen, barefoot in dress pants and an undershirt, looking more relaxed than I'd ever seen him. "You cook?" I asked, patting over in his shirt from the night before. "I make coffee and toast. Anything more ambitious ends badly." He poured me a cup, handed it over. "There's a bakery downstairs. I had them send up the rest." The counter was covered with pastries, fruit, yogurt, enough food for 10 people. "Expecting company? I didn't know what you liked." He looked almost embarrassed. "So I got everything." It was such a small thing, such a normal human gesture, and it broke my heart. My phone buzzed in the other room. I knew without looking it was Morrison. Probably furious I hadn't checked in, that I'd spent the night here without surveillance. "Work?" Dominic asked. "Always." I took a sip of coffee, perfect like everything else he did. "Can I ask you something?" "Anything." "The night my brother died. 3 years ago. Outside Moretti's restaurant." I watched his face carefully. "Do you remember it?" He went very still. The relaxed man from a moment ago disappeared, replaced by something harder, more guarded. "Why are you asking me that?" "Because you said you knew about Jordan. Because you wear that ring to remember people your father destroyed." I set down my coffee. "Was my brother one of them?" Dominic was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was hollow. "Yes." The word hung between us like a blade. "Tell me what happened." "Naomi. Tell me. Please." He moved to the window, stared out at the city. "Your brother owed money to Marcus Chin, a small-time bookie connected to our organization. Jordan borrowed $5,000 to cover medical bills for your mother. Planned to pay it back when he got his tax return." I remembered. Mom had been sick. Jordan had taken out the loan because I was in grad school and couldn't help. He'd promised it would be fine, that he had it handled. "Chun was behind on his payments to us," Dominic continued. "My father decided to send a message. Told Chun to make an example of someone. Chun chose Jordan. And you." "I was there. My father insisted. Said I needed to learn how to handle collections." His jaw tightened. "Jordan begged. Said he'd pay double, triple. Said he had a sister, a mother. Chin didn't care. Neither did my father." "Did you care?" He turned to face me, and his eyes were destroyed. I was 22, terrified of my father, terrified of showing weakness. So I stood there and watched Marcus Chun put a gun to your brother's chest. And I did nothing. "Chun killed him?" "Not your father. My father ordered it. Chun executed it. I witnessed it." His voice cracked. "The law sees those as the same thing. So do I." I felt like I was falling. Everything Morrison had told me, everything I'd believed, it wasn't exactly wrong, but it wasn't exactly right either. "Why didn't you stop it?" I whispered. "Because I was a coward." Because I'd learned that mercy got you killed in my world. Because I chose survival over humanity. He crossed the room, knelt in front of me. I've done unforgivable things, Naomi. Your brother's death is one of them. And I have to live with that every day. Is that why you built the youth center? Why you donate money in his name? Guilt. Yes, and because I wanted to believe that maybe, somehow, I could balance the scales. That enough good deeds could make up for standing by while an innocent man died. He took my hands. They can't. I know they can't. But I had to try. I should have been furious. Should have felt vindicated. This was the confession I needed. Evidence of his involvement. Proof. Instead, I just felt tired. What happened to Marcus Chun? I asked. I killed him. 2 years ago. Dominic's voice was flat. Found out he'd been skimming from us, using it to pay off gambling debts. My father was already dead by then. I could have just kicked Chun out, let him disappear. But I kept thinking about your brother. About all the people Chun had hurt. So I put a bullet in his head and told myself it was justice. Was it? No. It was revenge. And it didn't make me feel better. Didn't bring anyone back. Just added another name to the list of people I've killed. My phone buzzed again. Insistent. Morrison, definitely. You need to get that, Dominic said. It can wait. Naomi. What aren't you telling me? Everything. I wasn't telling him everything. Before I could answer, Dominic's own phone rang. He glanced at it, frowned. I need to take this. He stepped into the other room. I heard his voice sharp and commanding. The businessman, the boss. When he came back, his expression was grim. I have to go. Something's happened. What? The people who hit my warehouse last week. They just grabbed one of my lieutenants. Left a message saying if I want him back alive, I meet them alone. He was already moving, grabbing his jacket, checking a gun I hadn't known he carried. It's a trap, obviously, but Antonio has 3 kids. I can't just leave him. Then don't go alone. Call your people. Make a plan. There's no time. They gave me 2 hours. He cupped my face. I need you to stay here. Don't leave the penthouse. Don't answer the door for anyone but me. Dominic. Promise me. Please. I promise. He kissed me. Hard and fast and desperate. I love you. Remember that. Then he was gone. And I was alone in his penthouse with my buzzing phone and the weight of everything unsaid. I finally checked my messages. 17 missed calls from Morrison. 3 voicemails. A text that just said, "Call me now." I dialed. "Where the hell have you been?" Morrison didn't wait for hello. "I'm fine, thanks for asking." Vitale's walking into an ambush. We intercepted communications, it's a hit. The Cosa Nostra out of New York. They're eliminating him to take over his territory. My blood went cold. You have to warn him. Why would we do that? He shows up, they kill him, problem solved. We've been trying to take down Vitale for years. This does it for us. You're just going to let him die? He's a criminal, Naomi. A murderer. This is justice. This is an execution. So was what happened to your brother. Morrison's voice was sharp. Or have you forgotten why you're there? Why we recruited you? I looked around Dominic's penthouse. At the books he read. The records he listened to. The space he called beautiful and empty. At the coffee cup he'd handed me with such care. Where's the meat? I asked. You're not going. Where? Morrison sighed. The old meat packing plant on Ashland. Naomi, if you interfere with this, you're done. No protection, no deal. You'll be an accomplice. Then I guess I'm an accomplice. I hung up, grabbed my coat, and ran. Because somewhere between hunting a monster and falling in love with a man, I'd made a choice. Maybe the wrong one. Maybe one I'd regret for the rest of my life. But I couldn't let him walk into that warehouse alone. Even if saving him meant destroying myself. I'd never driven so fast in my life. Ran 3 red lights getting to the south side. My phone kept buzzing. Morrison, probably trying to talk me down or threaten me or both. I didn't answer. The meat packing plant loomed ahead, a skeletal structure of rust and decay. Dominic's Aston Martin was parked outside, alongside 3 black SUVs I didn't recognize. I was too late. Gunfire erupted from inside the building, sharp cracks that echoed through the empty street. My heart stopped. I should have called the police. Should have done anything except what I did next. I ran toward the sound. The interior was a maze of hanging chains and metal hooks, decades of blood stained into the concrete. I followed the gunfire, pressed against walls, trying to stay quiet. Voices ahead. Dominic's, steady despite everything. You got what you wanted. Let Antonio go. You really think this is about your lieutenant? A voice I didn't recognize. Heavy Brooklyn accent. This is about you thinking you run this city. The commission doesn't recognize your authority, Vitale. Your father's empire dies with you. So kill me. Leave him out of it. Where's the fun in that? More gunfire. I peered around a corner and saw them. Dominic behind an overturned table, pinned down by 4 men with automatic weapons. Antonio was tied to a chair in the center of the room, bleeding from a head wound but alive. Dominic was outnumbered, outgunned, and running out of time. I did the stupidest thing I'd ever done. I stepped out into the open and screamed, "FBI! Drop your weapons!" Everyone turned, including Dominic, whose face went through about 17 emotions in 2 seconds. Shock, horror, understanding, betrayal. I said drop them. I pulled out my phone like it was a weapon. I've got backup inbound. 30 seconds. You can leave or get arrested, your choice. It was a bluff. Complete, desperate bluff. The lead gunman laughed. The FBI doesn't send one unarmed agent to a gunfight, sweetheart. Nice try. He raised his weapon. Dominic moved faster than should have been possible, rolled from behind cover, fired twice. The gunman went down. Then chaos erupted. I dove behind a concrete pillar as bullets tore through the air. Dominic was moving, firing, taking down targets with a precision that was both terrifying and beautiful. This was the man the streets feared. The killer. The monster. He was also saving my life. "Naomi, run!" he shouted, dropping another gunman. Couldn't run. Couldn't leave him. Instead, I grabbed a piece of rebar from the ground and waited. When one of the gunmen came around my pillar, I swung with everything I had. Connected with his skull. He dropped. "What the hell are you doing?" Dominic appeared beside me, grabbed my arm. I said run. "Not without you." The last gunman was retreating, firing wildly. Dominic shoved me down, returned fire. Then silence. Heavy and ringing. "Are they?" I started. "Dead or gone? Doesn't matter." He hauled me to my feet, his grip bruising. "Are you insane? You could have been killed." "So could you. That's why I came. You're FBI." Not a question. A statement. His eyes were hard, empty. The warmth from this morning completely gone. "How long?" "Dominic. How long?" "From the beginning. The night at the hotel. All of it." The words tumbled out. "They recruited me because of Jordan. Because I knew about the Scorpion Ring. Because I wanted justice." He released me like I'd burned him. Staggered back. The book. The questions about redemption. Getting close to me. All of it was a lie. Not all of it. Was there ever a wire? Are they listening right now? I left it at my apartment. Nobody's listening. Lucky for you. His voice was ice. Unlucky for me, apparently. Behind us, Antonio groaned. Still alive, still tied up. Dominic moved to him mechanically, cut the ropes, checked his wounds, all while refusing to look at me. "Dominic, please. Don't." He helped Antonio stand. "Don't say another word. Don't apologize. Don't explain. Just don't. I came to warn you. I chose you over the investigation. You came because you felt guilty. There's a difference." He finally looked at me, and the betrayal in his eyes was devastating. "Did Morrison send you? Was this whole thing a setup?" "No. He told me to let you die. Said it would solve their problem. But you couldn't let that happen. Why? Love." The word was bitter. "Or did you need me alive for more evidence?" "Because I love you." The words ripped out of me. Because somewhere between hunting you and knowing you, everything changed. Because you're not what I expected, and I couldn't just let you walk into a trap. How noble. The FBI agent falls for her target. That must complicate the arrest. I told you the truth about Jordan. About why I'm here. That's more than I've given anyone. You told me after sleeping with me, after saying you loved me, after making me believe. He cut himself off, jaw tight. It doesn't matter. None of it matters now. Sirens wailed in the distance. Someone must have reported the gunfire. We need to go, Antonio said weakly. Dominic supported his lieutenant toward the exit. I followed, not knowing what else to do. Don't, Dominic said without turning around. Don't follow me. Don't call. Don't show up at my apartment or my office or anywhere else. Dominic, you want to arrest me? Do it. Turn in whatever evidence you collected. Put me in prison. At least then I'll know where I stand. He paused at the door. But don't pretend this was real. Don't insult both of us by pretending you actually cared. I do care. I love you. You love the idea of me. The version you needed me to be to forgive yourself for betraying your brother's memory. He finally turned, and his eyes were dead. But you don't know me, Naomi. You never did. Then he was gone. Antonio leaning on him as they disappeared into the maze of abandoned buildings. I stood alone in a room full of bodies, my phone buzzing with Morrison's calls, and felt my heart shatter into pieces too small to ever put back together. I'd saved his life, and lost everything else. The FBI picked me up 20 minutes later. Morrison was furious, professional, and oddly sympathetic all at once. You're done, he said in the car. Officially, you interfered with an ongoing investigation, compromised your cover, showed bias toward a suspect. I know. Unofficially, you saved a man's life, even if he is a criminal. Morrison sighed. The recordings you got are enough to move forward. We'll bring charges. Probably won't stick without your testimony, but we can make his life difficult. Don't. Excuse me. Don't file charges. Let him go. Naomi. He didn't kill Jordan. Chen did, and Chen's dead. The organization that ordered it is dismantled. Dominic's trying to be different, trying to change. Let him. Morrison was quiet for a long moment. You really love him? Yeah, I really do. Does he love you? I thought about the way Dominic had looked at me in the warehouse. The betrayal. The pain. He did. I whispered. Before he knew the truth. Morrison dropped me at my apartment. I walked upstairs in a daze, opened my door, and found my place ransacked. Furniture overturned. Belongings scattered. A message spray-painted on the wall in red. Liar. Dominic knew where I lived. Knew everything. I should have been scared. Instead, I just felt numb. My phone rang. Unknown number. Hello, Miss Clark? This is Chicago General Hospital. You're listed as an emergency contact for Dominic Vitale. My heart stopped. What happened? He was brought in an hour ago. Gunshot wound. Severe blood loss. He's in surgery now, but... The nurse's voice was gentle. You should come. He's been asking for you. I was out the door before she finished the sentence. Running toward the man I'd betrayed. The man who might not survive to hate me. Chicago General's emergency room smelled like antiseptic and fear. I ran through the automatic doors, found the surgical wing, and was immediately stopped by security. I'm here for Dominic Vitale. I'm his... What was I? Ex-girlfriend? The woman who betrayed him? I'm family. The nurse checked her list, nodded. 4th floor. I see you. He's out of surgery, but he's not conscious yet. I took the stairs 2 at a time. Antonio was in the waiting room, bandaged but upright. When he saw me, his expression hardened. You've got some nerve showing up here. How is he? Alive. Barely. Lost a lot of blood. Antonio stood, got in my face. One of those bullets hit an artery. He almost died because he was too busy saving your lying ass to protect himself. The guilt was a physical weight. I didn't mean. You didn't mean to be FBI? Didn't mean to use him? Didn't mean to break him. Antonio's voice was low, dangerous. He loved you. Actually loved you. First time I've seen him care about anything besides survival in 15 years. And you were lying the whole time. I know. Then why are you here? Because the hospital called. Said he was asking for me. Antonio's expression shifted, confusion, then something like pity. He wasn't asking for you. He was warning us about you. Told me to make sure you didn't get hurt in the retaliation. Even after everything, he's still trying to protect you. Of course, he was. Because Dominic Vitale might be a killer, might be broken, might be damned. But he was also the kind of man who wore his father's ring to remember victims. Who built youth centers from blood money. Who loved so completely that even betrayal couldn't kill it immediately. Can I see him? I asked. He doesn't want to see you. Please. Antonio studied me for a long moment. 5 minutes. Then you leave and don't come back. He led me to a private room. Dominic lay unconscious, connected to machines that beeped steadily. He looked vulnerable in a way I'd never seen. No armor, no walls, just a man who'd been shot saving someone who'd betrayed him. I sat beside the bed, took his hand carefully. I'm sorry, I whispered. I'm so sorry. For all of it, lying. Using you. For making you think I didn't care. He didn't respond. Didn't move. You were right. I didn't know you. Not really. I knew the man you showed me, but I didn't understand how much courage it took to be that man. To try to be better than your history. Tears slipped down my cheeks. Jordan would have liked you. The real you. He always believed people deserved second chances. I stood to leave, but his hand tightened weakly around mine. Naomi. His voice was rough, barely audible. I'm here. His eyes opened, bloodshot, exhausted, but focused on my face. You came. The hospital called. Didn't ask them to. He struggled to breathe. Told Antonio to keep you safe. Why? After everything I did. Because I meant it. When I said I loved you. He closed his eyes. Still mean it. Even though I shouldn't. Even though you. He coughed, winced. Doesn't matter. Can't just turn it off. I love you too. That was never a lie. Wasn't it? He looked at me again. How do I know? How do I know any of it was real? I didn't have an answer that would satisfy him. So I did the only thing I could. I told him the truth. You don't. You just have to decide if you believe me. I squeezed his hand. And if you don't, I understand. I'll walk away. Let you heal. Let you move on. But I need you to know that falling for you wasn't part of the plan. It wasn't strategic or calculated. It just happened. And it terrified me. Because I came here to hate you. And instead I fell in love with a monster. Fell in love with a man trying not to be one anymore. He was quiet for so long I thought he'd fallen asleep. Then, Morrison. He'll come for me. I told him not to file charges. Will he listen? I don't know. Probably not. Dominic nodded slowly. Then I need to disappear. Witness protection, maybe. Or just vanish. Start over. Somewhere nobody knows the Vitale name. Is that what you want? What I want doesn't matter. It's what I have to do. He looked at me. Come with me. I froze. What? Come with me. Wherever I go. We'll both start over. New names, new lives. Leave all of this behind. The FBI, the organization, the blood. Just be different people. Dominic. I know it's insane. I know I shouldn't trust you. But I'm asking anyway. His grip tightened. Because I don't want to do this alone. And because maybe we both deserve a second chance. Before I could answer, Antonio burst into the room. We've got a problem. The Cosa Nostra knows Dominic survived. They're sending cleaners. Here? I asked. Everywhere. They want him finished. Antonio was already moving, checking weapons. We need to move you now, boss. I can't walk, Dominic said through gritted teeth. Then we carry you. Either way, we go. Alarms started blaring. Gunfire erupted somewhere below us. Sharp cracks that sent nurses screaming. They're already here, I said. Antonio swore. I'll hold them off. Get him out the back way. You can't fight them alone. I'm not asking permission. He handed me a gun. There's a service elevator at the end of the hall. Take it to the basement, go through the tunnels to the parking garage. Dominic's car is in spot 47. Keys are in his jacket. Antonio, Dominic started. You gave me a life, boss. Let me return the favor. Antonio smiled grimly. Besides, someone needs to make sure those bastards remember why you don't mess with the Vitale organization. He left before we could argue. I got Dominic into a wheelchair, grabbed his 4-pole and ran. The hallway was chaos. Patients being evacuated, security responding to the gunfire below. We made it to the service elevator just as more shots rang out. The basement was a maze of maintenance tunnels. I pushed the wheelchair as fast as I could, following signs toward the parking garage. Behind us, footsteps echoed. Shouts in Italian. They were getting closer. We burst into the garage. I found Dominic's car, got him into the passenger seat. He was fading, the exertion too much for his injured body. Stay with me, I said, starting the engine. Always planning to, he murmured. I drove. No destination, just away. Out of the garage into traffic, heading for the highway. My hands shook on the wheel. Where are we going? Dominic asked. I don't know. Away. Anywhere. Naomi. I'm coming with you. Wherever you go. New names, new lives, all of it. I'm in. He reached over, took my hand. You're sure? I've never been more sure of anything. We drove south out of Chicago as the sun set behind us, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson. Two broken people running toward something that might be redemption or might be damnation. But we were running together, and maybe that was enough. The small coastal town in Oregon didn't have a name most people would recognize. It was the kind of place people went to disappear. Artists, writers, people running from pasts they couldn't reconcile. We fit right in. Dominic, now David Walsh, ran a bookstore near the harbor. Used his money to stock it with rare editions and local authors, hosted readings on weekends, hired high school kids who needed jobs. I now, Nicole Walsh, finished my book. The real one, about redemption and second chances and whether people built from violence could choose peace. It was raw and honest and probably wouldn't sell well, but it was true. We lived in a cottage that overlooked the ocean. Small, simple, nothing like his penthouse or the luxury he'd known. He'd never been happier. You're staring, he said one evening, looking up from the dinner he was cooking. Actual cooking, not just toast. He'd been taking lessons. I like looking at you. Still. Always. He crossed the small kitchen, wrapped his arms around me. No regrets. About giving up my old life? Running away with a reformed crime boss? Living in a town where the biggest excitement is the annual crab festival. I smiled. Not even one. I regret that you had to give up everything. I didn't give up everything. I gave up the things that were killing me. The grief, the revenge, the anger. I kept the things that mattered. I turned in his arms. I kept you. He kissed me, slow and sweet. The kind of kiss that had nothing to do with passion and everything to do with promise. Morrison called today, I said, when we broke apart. Dominic tensed. And he officially closed the investigation. Said without my testimony, they don't have a case. And with me gone, there's no point pursuing it. I paused. He also said to tell you that if you ever come back to Chicago, all bets are off. No plans to go back. Me either. We ate dinner on the porch, watching the sunset turn the ocean molten. In Chicago, people were probably still looking for Dominic Vitale. The families were probably still fighting over territory. The FBI was probably chasing the next target. But here we were just David and Nicole. A couple who ran a bookstore and wrote stories and tried to figure out how to build something good from broken pieces. I got a letter today, Dominic said quietly. From Marcus, at the youth center. Yeah. 3 more kids got scholarships. The coding program is expanding. They're naming a wing after. He paused. After Jordan. The Jordan Marchetti Center for Second Chances. My throat tightened. Really? I hope that's okay. I should have asked. But I wanted. I kissed him, hard and grateful. It's perfect. Jordan would have loved it. We sat in comfortable silence as night fell, stars emerging one by one above us. Somewhere in the darkness, the ocean whispered against the shore. Constant, relentless, washing everything clean. Do you think we're good people now? I asked. Dominic considered the question. I think we're trying to be. And maybe that's enough. What if it's not? What if we can't outrun what we've done? Then we keep running, keep trying, keep choosing better. He pulled me closer. Together, together. It was a small word that meant everything. I'd come to Chicago hunting a monster and found a man. Lost my brother's memory and found a way to honor it. Betrayed everything I believed in and discovered what I actually valued. And in the end, maybe redemption wasn't about erasing the past. Maybe it was about choosing every single day to be better than who you were. Maybe it was about finding someone who saw your worst and chose to stay anyway. Maybe it was about love. Messy, complicated, born from lies and surviving into truth. I love you, I said. I love you too, Dominic replied. Even though you're terrible at undercover work. I laughed and it felt like freedom. Somewhere behind us, our old lives waited, full of blood and grief and choices we couldn't undo. But ahead of us stretched possibility. Years of quiet mornings and shared dinners. Of building something real from the rubble of everything we'd destroyed. It wasn't the ending I'd planned when I came to Chicago. It was better. Because in the end, the Mafia boss had answered a call. Not to save someone dying, but to save himself. And I'd answered one too. We'd saved each other. Finally, we were beautifully free.